come in last night, but that's why we have airplanes, because you can just get somewhere as fast as you need to get there. So I'm going to share with you guys first just a little mechanical thing that I've changed in my skincare class. And the only reason I'm sharing it with you, because I know that we're all masters at holding our skincare classes, like that's just a no-brainer. However, it is something that my consultants have gotten really, really excited about, and something that they have told me feels very empowering to them. And our single solitary focus this year is growth. If any of my consultants were here, you could ask them, and there's a specific number, like unit size number. There's a date. I mean, we'll talk about that again in a second. But anyway, so I was kind of looking, well, you know how sometimes something finds you and you're like, oh, I didn't know I was looking for that, but it found you anyways, and it always comes at the right time. And I was getting, raise your hand if you do Mrs. Cab at your parties, and that's how you share the marketing plan. Okay, good. So, and the rest of you, I'm assuming you do some sort of marketing where you are giving them information in some form or fashion, and there's like a ticket system or something. Do y'all do that? Okay, yes. Okay, so that's what we did too. We do Mrs. Cab, which y'all all know what Mrs. Cab is. And one thing that I had heard my consultant say before, this was before I'm learning to be a better listener. And so when they were telling me this is when I was still not a very good listener. And but the things that they were saying to me were like, Mrs. Cab is great, but like you have a lot of fun things that you can say, and I don't have a lot of fun things that I can say. Like you've earned the cars, and you've, done the things, and you've gone to the cool places, and things like that, and I can't say that yet. And I said, well, just tell my story. Or tell Mary Kay's story, or tell Deb's story, or tell the story of someone who inspires you in Mary Kay. And what I have figured out through recent conversation is that was lacking authenticity for them. And that is something that I have gotten really, really big on, is let's just have authentic conversations. Let's be real with each other. And I'll talk about that more in a minute too. So anyway. Okay, so that's a backstory behind. I just wanted to know why I changed what I was doing. Because what I was doing, I thought it was working. In hindsight, I realized it was not working, because you know what was happening? They didn't feel good about sharing Mrs. Cab, so guess what they were doing? They weren't doing it. So I'm like, you're holding these parties and I'm not interviewing these people, like there is a disconnect. And it come to find out, well, there's no marketing survey, and there's no marketing survey because there's no marketing going on. And I'm like, dear sweet Jesus, this is a problem. This is why my unit hasn't grown in a long time. So anyway, so lo and behold, I go to fall retreat, and you guys know Stephanie Coker? Okay, so Stephanie Coker was there, and she taught on this at fall retreat, and I'm gonna make sure that Deb posts this for y'all, but this is a marketing page, and it says start your success story with Mary Kay for $100, and it's not a starter kit flyer. Okay, what we do when we do this at our, okay, and I should say that we just started doing this on October 24th. I should give that little small detail. However, like I said, it's the conversations with my consultants why I wanted to share this with you. So anyway, this piece of paper kind of lays out our marketing plan. It doesn't necessarily, it's not the starter kit flyer or anything like that. It shows the cars. It shows like what could you project from your sales in 1 year if you did this, like if you did this many parties a week, if you did this many parties a week based on your customer base, et cetera, et cetera. And then the 4 F's, financial, foundational growth, freedom, flexibility, fun, friends, focus. Okay, so it's like marketing. It's our marketing on a page. Okay, so at the party, what we're doing now, since October 24th, isn't that great? Is they have this piece of paper, and then on the back of it, we have the starter kit flyer, and it's laminated or whatever, and then as they have the charcoal mask sitting, we hand them the paper, okay, and we say, okay, close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes, and I say, you know what, this might not be something that would be for you ever in 100 million years, but that my joy and my passion in Mary Kay is sharing this business opportunity with other women because it's changed my life so radically. And so what I want you to do, your eyes are still closed, and so what I want you to do is I want you to like morph right now, and I want you to pretend like you were really interested in doing what I do. You were really curious about what I do. And then in a second, I'm gonna say, open your eyes, and you're gonna ask me any question you wanna ask me about our marketing plan. Nothing is off limits. You can ask me anything you want to know. You get a ticket for every question you ask. There is one question that's worth 10 tickets, because I'm like encouraging engagement here. There's one question that's worth 10 tickets. And then I tell them, and this part is mostly going to be for your consultants, is there, if you can stump me, if you can ask me a question that I can't answer, you get 5 tickets. Okay? And then the consultants are coached to, here's, so-and-so at my party, she asked this question, I couldn't answer it, here's her name and number, call her and follow up. Okay, isn't that cool? So the psychology, and I will tell you, this originated from Brianna Goodwin in California, if any of you guys know Brianna, but so I'll give her credit because this is genius, I think, but the psychology behind it is this. Now, what kind of questions are they going to ask? What have you always been taught that a question is in Mary Kay? It's an objection in disguise. So now what are they doing? They're asking you their objections. So instead of spewing information at them, you are now answering the only things that they need to know. Because what if, she doesn't care about the CARB program and the this and the that and the blah, blah, blah. What if all she cares about is the culture? And she wants to know, tell me why this is fun to you. And then you're telling her all about the money, and that means nothing to her. You know what I'm saying? So what you're doing is you are giving them the information that they need to know to be able to do what? Make a decision. And so it's just, and I'll tell you this too, it's empowered my consultants. They're loving it, my consultants, because first of all, they don't feel like they have to memorize MRSCAB and all this da-da-da-da. And have you ever watched we can just be real here, Red Jackets, y'all are fixing to be directors, it's fine. Have you ever watched your consultants do Mrs. Cab? It is like nails on chalkboard. And they'll start saying stuff and you are like, shut up. She does not need to know that, but you just can't stop them. It's like word vomit. It's word vomit, and people don't need to be vomited on. So, but my consultants are most excited about it because they feel like it is a way that they can get information across successfully without feeling inferior or illegitimate almost. One of my consultants said, when I do this, this is a strong statement. And I was like, wow, I should have started listening a long time ago, but that's fine. She said, I don't feel like a fraud when I do this. I feel real. And that same consultant is the one that a woman at a party said, tell me how your business impacted you last week. Okay, and this is what people want to know, you guys. They don't care about the statistics. They don't care about the numbers. They want to know, how did this business impact you last week? And you know what my consultant did? This was so smart. I teach my consultants a party notebook system, and in the very back section of our party notebook is our money bag where we keep all of our sales tickets. She went and grabbed all of her sales tickets from the last week out. She said, this is how it's impacted me the last week. And she had like $1,100 worth of sales tickets in there, and this is a woman, a consultant who's a hairstylist. They own a farm, a 15-acre farm. She has 3 children, and her husband works out of town Sunday to Friday. Okay, so that's powerful, right? So anyways, I'll make sure that you guys get this paper. I'll give it to Deb so that she can post it. I know y'all have like an Omaha group or whatever, and I'll make sure, but what's cool is that it has all the information on here so that, they can look and see the statistics, not the statistics, but the details. But they're not going over it, and we're not spewing that information. And you'll have like one person at the party that doesn't say a word. She doesn't ask a question, she doesn't say anything, and that's totally fine. She's reading and she's listening because her friends are asking the same thing that she wants to know. Y'all have any questions about that? Yes?
What's the question for the 10 ticket?
How do you start? How do you get started?
Okay.
Yeah, what does it take to get started? And then you flip it over and say, well, I'm so glad you asked. And then you have the starter kit flyer on the back. And then you go from there. Yeah?
What happens when you have a group and no one says anything?
Great question. I knew somebody would ask this. I'm prepared for this question. There are going to be some times that you have to lead them into questions. So if they open their eyes and they're like fuddy-duddies and they're not saying anything, then you say, well, what might you want to know? Might you want to know how we make our money? Is anybody interested in that at all? And then somebody will, and then they'll get started. But you may have to kind of lead them a little bit. Would you be interested in how much time does this take? Things like that. Things that are kind of like high points or whatever. You can kind of lead them in that direction. Yes?
If it's just a facial and you let them ask set for 10 minutes or something, how do you carry on a conversation with just one or two?
That's exactly what it is. It's an organic conversation. And that's another thing that my consultants, because consultants will run around and do facials sometimes, and that's fine. But there was zero marketing going on, I figured out, at facials because they were not going to play Mrs. Cat with one person.
Right.
And they did not know how to initiate a marketing conversation confidently. So it's just an open conversation, like here's this tool, look at this, what would you want to know? If you were going to consider doing this, what would you want to know? And then it just starts like this whole conversation.
And did they fill out a survey for you afterwards, Tracy?
So then we say, so this is while the charcoal mask is sitting, so I'm timing them, and I'm like, okay, it's almost time to wipe our mask off, so here's what I want to know really quick. I want you to, on their profile card, I want you to either give me CBA. C is, I'll be your customer, I don't do cash cards, diamonds, girlfriends, I don't like that kind of thing. B is like, buy me coffee. I'm interested, I'm not sold. And A is like, I'm all in, it's $100, and then you need to kind of repeat what they just learned, And so you have them put CBA, and always go backwards, don't ever say ABC, because then you end on the customer one. You always go CBA. Is that what you're asking?
Where is that question? At the very, very end of your...
At the very end, like when they're right before they wipe the charcoal mask off.
Oh, gotcha.
And then you proceed, and you do like their day cream and their CC cream. And the other thing too, y'all, is it breaks it up, so you're not like at the very end of the party, you're not like slamming them with marketing information and slamming them with pricing and then closing them out. Like they get a second to like think, they have a second to process. What a novel idea, yeah.
Do you have a printout of this that you use in the phone, or just...
No, I just have a PDF. Yeah, but I'll post it for y'all. I thought you meant like right now. I'm like, girl, you can print it yourself. No. That's really good. I only do laminated ones. Now again, it's only, October 24th. So that's a good idea. But I also too, like I'm kind of big on like, I don't really necessarily want her to take it home and I want her to make a decision now.
Right.
So I don't necessarily like to send them home with things. That's just me. Yes.
Okay, so if your consultants weren't doing Mrs. Cap,
Mhm.
so them just watching you a couple of times at the meeting do that empowered them to go do it on their own?
Well, we did learn about it all at Fall Retreat, and then we had a really great conversation about it, and then yes, they've seen me do it, and I'm telling you, it was like this weight came off of their chest. It really was, and I had never thought about it, because for me, Mrs. Cab was great. Let me tell you about all this money, let me tell you about all this recognition, let me tell you about all these cars, and they're like, I don't want to tell them about my director, who's this figment of their imagination that's not here, that's not cool. So, anyway, okay, so I'll make sure that you guys get the PDF of that, and then, use whatever starter kit flyer you want to use.
Could I just hear your verbiage? Could you do CBA again for me?
Oh, yeah, so at the end you're going to say, okay, it's almost time for us to wipe our mask off, and thank you guys for asking those questions. I love sharing information, so just really quickly, I just want to get a little feedback information from you so I can kind of know where your head's at. So you're either going to give me a C, a B, or an A on the back of your profile card. C means like, I'm totally not interested in this. Like, I'll be your customer, but I have no interest in doing this with you. I'm not into like cash and cards and diamonds and, you just rattle off all the things. And then B is like, buy me coffee. Like, I'm interested, you've gotten my attention, I'm not sold yet. And then A is like, I'm all in, it's $100 to start, and then you kind of need to repeat what they learned. Because, if they didn't learn about tax advantages, which nobody asks that question, by the way, then you don't get to say that. You know what I'm saying? Is that what you wanted?
Okay, when your consultants are communicating with you, if they have a stumper question, passing that information along, are they also telling you your people that are like your A's and your B's, obviously your A's and fine right there.
Yep.
Your B's, like how are you getting that information from them?
Great. So I coach my consultants to literally have their phone in their hand or in their pocket of their beauty coat while they're doing this. And if they get a stumper, they text it to me right then.
Oh.
And then I had one, this was really fun. She just called me. She's like, hey, I'm at this party. I have a stumper question. Here, I'm putting you on speakerphone. I'm like, okay, cool. She put me on speakerphone. And then how I coach them with bees is, okay, great. I see that you are interested and you want to be, you want to get some more information. Tell me when you have, give me 2 time slots in the next 48 hours that you have 20 minutes. And then so the girl will tell them I could do tomorrow morning at 7:30 or the next day at 6 p.m. And then they text me both of those. They text me the word share, a name, and 2 time slots and a phone number, and that's it. And then the ball's in my court. Then I'm going after her. I was a basketball coach. I'm a little aggressive. Yeah.
So Tracy used to do the Mrs. FCAB, and that's what I've always done too. So switching to this, and I know you just started since October 24th. What's been your results? Like, have you given a lot more to sign, or on the spot thinking about it, or?
So I'll tell you this. We went to our fall retreat with one agreement in, and then we came home. I don't know, October 19th, 2021. Yeah, 2021. And then we came home, and from the on the 25th and the 26th, that 48 hours, we had 9 agreements come in. And I don't think not all of them were parties. A lot of them were people that had already partied prior to, and they called back, and what did they have? An organic conversation. Because they felt empowered to do that.
So for your bees, like if you're not in the same state as that person, do you have the consultant do it, or how do you go about that?
Oh, no. I FaceTime or Facebook message video.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't really, and my unit right now is in a season of growth, so my hands need to be really in the mix right now. There's gonna come a point in time where I'm gonna have to relinquish that, but right now, I'm still steering that boat. Yeah, and Facebook, if y'all don't use Facebook Messenger, like, video, it's so awesome. You can, because you can 3-way video call with people. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all, am I okay on time?
Yeah.
Okay, so, any other questions about the marketing thing? It's really cool. Okay, last one.
Okay, so say they ask how you make your money. How much into that do you go? Where do you stop? Because you could sit there all day saying.
I go where the conversation leads me. I really do, because I've already told them like nothing's off limits. So if they say, how do you make money? I say, well, the first and fastest way that beauty consultants and Mary Kay make money is through selling the product. We make 50% of everything that we sell. So you have a $1,000 week, you put $500 in your pocket.
So you're not necessarily going into facials, avenues of income.
I'm just here to tell you, I'm the queen of simple. A lot of my people come into my unit and they don't know jack diddly squat. Except they were excited and it cost them $100 to start, and here we go. I'm a firm believer that less is more.
Yes.
I really am.
When you're doing FaceTime, that's a new thought for me, because I've always just done voice, because my unit's all over. So you're taking time face to face, and you're just doing one at a time. You're not doing multiple.
Okay, no. I am one-on-one. I want to see her. I don't want her scrambling her kids' eggs or any of that jazz. Like if they're on the phone with you, they can do a million things at one time, and but if you're making eye contact with her, like you're connected to her, she's got to stop what she's doing.
Same with you as the director. Like you can't be driving, or you're in your office when you're doing these.
Well, I don't really enjoy my office. It's really great. It's beautiful, but I don't like being in there. But what I do is, if I'm on the road, like the other night, I had to pull over I was driving home from a party, so I had to pull over to a gas station under the lights and do a call. I'll stop, drop, and roll anywhere for a sharing appointment. I do not care. You can call me. I do not care. I'll put anything on hold for that. Okay, so I'm going to share with you guys just really quick, just a couple of, just like little, you're standing up. You're just standing. Okay, so, now I am done. Oh, you're vibrating on high.
21 new recruits in 2 months. In their unit. Pay attention. If you think it's not you, it's you. Get over yourself. Okay? Here's the thing. She vibrates on high. Are you vibrating on high? What does that mean? Are you passionate? You don't have to be a cheerleader to be passionate. But I want to make sure that the law of attraction means you're attracting what you are, not what you want. That's why I trained you. So there. Okay, you guys, you're never going to draw to yourself what you want. How many of you are like, I want? You draw to yourself who you are.
Yeah.
That's who she is.
100%. That is exactly right. That is actually written on my paper. That is an accurate statement. The growth that we've had, I will tell you though, and that's why I wanted to start with the marketing thing, because I don't want you to think that the reason that we're experiencing growth right now is because of a new way to market. It's because of a single solitary focus. Because that new way to market people has only been in action for a week. But it's empowering my consultants, which is why I wanted you to know about it. Because if my consultants felt that way, yours might too. Okay. And okay, so anyway, so this is what I really wanted to talk about a little bit, was just where your head is at in this game that we play called Mary Kay. And I was a basketball coach prior to Mary Kay, so this is like a game to me. And the first thing that I want to say is this, and one of my girlfriends, Kelly Thompson, said this to me. She's also an athlete. I've been a team sport athlete my entire life, so I think in terms of like sports team on a court, how is this like that? And she said, you know what I think the biggest mistake is that we make when we become directors? And I said, no, what is it? Well, I knew what she was going to say. We take ourselves out of the field, right? So Red Jackets, that's like the biggest mistake you can ever make when you become a sales director, is to take yourself out of the field. Don't think you need to start directing your people. You don't. So she said the biggest mistake that we make is that we go from being the player to the coach. And the players are on the field making things happen, and the coach stands on the sideline. And the coach can give directions, the coach can give orders, the coach can give pep talks, but ultimately the coach is not on the court, so the coach can't score. The coach can't pass the ball to anybody else to go score. So she said, what if we did this? And I'm telling y'all, I have played basketball my entire life. How did she have this thought before me? I am a smart person. She said, how about this? How about we go from being the player to the captain instead of going from being the player to the coach? Because the captain's still on the court. The captain's still playing the game. But the captain's dribbling the ball with one hand and directing with the other. And I was a point guard my whole life, so I did that. I mean, there's a million pictures of me like this, dribbling a ball and holding my hand up in the air, calling a play. How did I not know that? But if that's a good visual for you, that was a great visual for me. So I hope that's a good visual for you. And so I started talking to Deb a lot, probably back in May, about what I wanted this year to look like, because I'm a firm believer that if you wait until July 1st, you're 90 days behind. So we started talking in May about what do I really want, and the one thing I had never really bought into and really committed myself to was my unit size. That was the one thing that I had never fully given myself to, and fully taken control of, was my unit size. And so, and I've been on there's been a lot of self-growth that's happened since about this time last year, and I won't get into all that because we'd be here for days, y'all hearing about my wonky brain, but that's fine. But I just decided that's all I'm going to focus on. And here's what I have learned in the first quarter of the year so far, is that when production is no longer the stick by which you measure success, it will skyrocket. And some of y'all already know that, and you're like, okay, you finally caught the train, good job. But I have learned that lesson in the past 90 days big time. When production is no longer the stick by which you measure success, it will skyrocket. And that's very interesting to me because I kind of felt like I always wanted to hold on to my production and manipulate it and make sure that we hit a certain number, a certain number, a certain number. But you can only pump and dry well for so long until dust comes out. And then they have nothing left to give you because you've pumped them for everything that they have. And when you're not pouring new in there, it's a dry well, you know, and there's nothing else that you can do. So how do we change that? So what do we do? How do we actually change that? And the first thing is just like having I had to like have a very serious come to Jesus meeting with myself about, okay, what is my unit size really?
Right.
Not like kind of, sort of, what is it? Roundabout, no. Like what is it actually? Like if these I3s over here do not reorder this month, what is my unit size going to be on the 1st? Not what is it today, because I'm not worried about today. I'm worried about on the 1st is what I'm worried about. Not worried, maybe that's not a good word, but that's what I'm aware of. That's my awareness, okay? And so I knew that I needed, and this is, I'm telling you guys, this is what it all comes down to. I knew that I needed to change the culture of my unit, big time. And here's the deal, if you don't set the culture of your unit and you don't set the tone of your unit, the people who aren't producing in your unit will set the tone and the culture. And that can be a really scary thought. So, what is your culture? What is it? I mean, what kind of, and I mean, I even went so far, you guys, as like I changed my unit name. I mean, I rebranded everything. Everything. I changed everything. Like, I don't even have the same unit name anymore. Because I wanted to get a point across to them, but I knew that the people that were already in my unit weren't going to be the people that were going to grow it. It was going to come down to, here's the new culture of my unit. Now I got to go find people that meet this culture and fit this culture. And I have to be willing to set the bar here and leave the bar here. And if this bar makes you uncomfortable, that's okay with me. You can either rise to it or you can leave because I'm not moving my bar. Because I had allowed other people to adjust my bar in my business before, and it did not serve me well. So, and you guys, that goes not only for your business, but just in your life and who you are. You know, and when you can start working from the inside out and you're no longer working for the applause, recognition, and approval of other people, you can walk so much more confidently in who you are. And it's okay if who I am doesn't give you the warm fuzzies. Like, that's okay with me. That's totally fine with me. And my consultants know that. Like, they know. I tell them all the time. And that's another thing that I started doing was I became okay with telling them the truth. I really did. I became very okay with that. You know, telling them things like, here's the deal. Like when I'm doing trainings and stuff, you're asking about the meeting. Telling them, this is another thing I did change to change the culture of my unit, is I will only train on, I'll have consultants sitting around, and I'll say, everybody go around, tell me one great thing that's happened in your business in the last 7 days, go. Well, they gotta have something happen in the last 7 days to be able to answer that question. And then I also say, tell me one frustrating thing that's happened in the last 7 days. But they know that they are not allowed to bring any kind of frustration to me with a bad attitude. I'm totally fine with you bringing a frustration, a disappointment, or whatever to the table if you have an attitude of, I want to grow from this, I want to fix this, I want to get better at this. How can we collectively as a group learn from this? But if you still have a bad attitude about it, don't you dare open your mouth. And I tell them that. I also started telling them things like, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to train you, and here's the deal, I care way more about your future than I do your feelings. Bottom line, I care way more about your future than I do your feelings. So, sorry. As we go through this training, if I say something that steps on your toes a little bit, just be okay with it. Because I would never say anything that I didn't think was for your benefit. And here's the deal, you guys. The temperature in my unit has changed dramatically. They like hearing the truth. The champions do. The champions like hearing the truth. The ones that want to rise, they want you to talk to them like that. They want to get down and dirty and like, let's talk about the real stuff. Let's figure this out. And what's cool too about training your consultants like that is then, like, she's hearing one of her wins from this last week, and she's like, okay, I can do this, you know, And then maybe she shares a frustration, and she's like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. Like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I will tell you, I had a new consultant come to my meeting for the first time last week, and I always kind of tell them that, the new ones, I say, hey, listen, you're part of our team now. We hustle. It's who we are. We work hard. If you thought that you were signing up for people to knock on your door and buy Mary Kay from you, you came to the wrong team. And I'm totally fine if you find another one. I'm totally cool with that. But if you want to hustle and you want to work hard and you want to make things happen and you want to see change in your life, then you're in the right place at the right time with the right people. And I had a consultant. Remember, I was a basketball coach. I'm also a D off the chart. I had a consultant, a new consultant, come to my meeting on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday, last night, we were having this event at my studio, and she texted me something in the morning where I could just tell her energy was bad, and this is where you have to be willing to advocate for your people. Her energy was bad, and one of my personal recruit is her recruiter. And she was supposed to ride with her recruiter, who's my personal recruit, to this event. And I could just tell her energy was bad, and I immediately called my personal and I said, hey, here's the deal, you don't need to know the details, but Brittany's no longer riding with you to the event tonight. You need to text her right now and tell her that you've had a situation come up and she needs to meet you there. We have to advocate for our people. I did not want her, my hotshot, in the car with her Debbie Downer, bad attitude recruit. And I built enough trust with this consultant. She said, okay, you got it. And then she texts the consultant, the stinky attitude one, and that girl texted her back and said, oh, actually, I'm not going to be able to make it anymore. Perfect. Great, that's what we wanted to happen. We're trying to snuff you out. Because we're just not going to roll like that. You're not going to come in with your crappy energy and mess up our mojo. You're either going to roll how we roll, or you're going to roll on, sister. Okay. Yeah, right? So this is kind of what Deb said a second ago, but you have to remember that who you are is how you lead. Who you are is how you lead. So look at your unit, and they are a direct reflection of you and what you have going on inside your ears that you don't want nobody else to know about right now. They are a reflection of that. So if you've got insecurities going on or whatever, that's not necessarily maybe that you're, they'll bring you insecure people because it's the vibe that you're putting out. Who you are is how you lead. When you decide to stand up and stand on your own 2 feet and be who you are, no matter how uncomfortable it makes other people feel, your people will rise. They will rise, and they will start to bring you other people. First of all, you will find those people, and then they will bring you more people like that. And it's so critically important. So make sure that you know your standard and that your team knows your standard. I'm telling you, I could line up my consultants right here, and y'all could ask them, and they, in unison, they would tell you what our deadline goal is for January 1st. Because I do break my seminar year down into 2 pieces. I was a teacher, so semesters work better for me. Okay, and then can I read him the little thing out of the book really fast? Okay, so other people's opinions, y'all. It's really sad that sometimes we see people let somebody else's opinion affect their life. Isn't that, we see that with consultants sometimes, where they go home and then their so-and-so says, oh, that's not a good idea, and then they decide that person knows better, okay? So this is a book I've been reading right now. It's called Dare to Lead. It's by Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown. I love her work. I don't actually know her as a person. So I will say I love her books. I love her work. I don't know anything about her. But her books are great. But one of the things that this book talks about is just being willing to not care about what other people think. It does not matter to me. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter to me what you think about how I do my life or my business, or if the way I live and the way I walk and talk makes you uncomfortable, that is okay with me. It really is. But there was this passage in this book, y'all gotta read this book, and you need to make your consultants read this book too. But I just thought, oh my gosh, everybody in Mary Kay needs to hear this, okay? And so this book, she's talking about outside opinions, outside criticism, things of that nature. And this is a little piece of it that I wanted y'all to hear. And it says, the third thing I learned has turned into a mandate by which I live my life. Okay, so here comes the mandate. Are you ready? Clear my throat. If you're not in the arena getting your butt kicked on occasion, I'm not interested in or open to your feedback. There are a million cheap seats in the world today filled with people who will never be brave with their lives. But they will spend every ounce of energy they have hurling advice and judgment at those who dare greatly. Have y'all read Daring Greatly? Such a good book. Their only contributions are criticism, cynicism, and fear-mongering. If you're criticizing from a place where you're not also putting your neck on the line, I'm not interested in what you have to say. Mic drop, right? And so she says we have to avoid the cheap seats feedback and stay armor-free, which I'm not going to explain the armor-free part right now because that's a whole other conversation. But you've got to avoid, and you guys, this will come from outside of Mary Kay, and it will come from inside of Mary Kay too. You know, you've got that consultant that's like, well, we should have done it, and it's like, well, when you earn your Cadillac, you let me know about that. You know, like, she is in the cheap seats right now, you know? Or so-and-so who's not in Mary Kay, they have no idea what we do and who we are and what we stand for, so they don't get to speak into that for you.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? They don't get to. And you've got to, if they are in a cheap seat in your life, do not give them $1 million voice in your life. If they bought a cheap ticket, don't let them give you $1 million advice. Okay? And don't take it for $1 million either. And a great way to do this, and she talks about this in the book, is really fast. This is the last thing I'm going to leave y'all with this. Rip off a 1 inch by 1 inch square off the edge of your paper. Like literally 1 inch by 1 inch. Don't make it bigger than that. If you're detail oriented, don't start measuring. Okay, so what you're going to do is this is going to be, what you're going to write on this little piece of paper is going to be called your square squad. Your square squad. Your square squad. And she talks about it in the book. But what you're going to do is you need to think about, and you may not be able to do it right this second, but what you need to think about is whose opinions in my life actually hold merit. Who loves me, not in spite of my imperfections, but because of them. They love me even though I'm not perfect. They will tell me the truth. They will tell me the truth when the truth makes me cry. Who are those people? And that list is probably pretty short. And those are the names that you're going to write on that square. And then those are the only people that you're going to worry about but that you're going to be, involved with their opinion. Okay? And if their name is not in your square, who cares? Who cares? Quit giving power to people who are not invested in who you are and what you do. Because it just doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? Right. And the last thing she says is it cannot be a suck-up squad. Your square squad better not be a suck-up squad. Like it can't be somebody that you call and you say, well, I was going to do 3 parties this week and then this happened and da-da-da. And she's like, girl, it's okay. Like you can do it next week. No, that's suck-up squad. She's off. It's got to be, no. You said that you were gonna hold 3 parties this week, and what I know about you is that you're a woman of your word. And what I know is that there's 3 days left in this week, and that you will figure it out. Call me when it's done by. That's your Square Squad. All right, you guys? I'm so glad to be here with y'all. Thank you so much.
Toward the end. But she just kicked your butt away. But she gave you permission to be successful and quit being a little girl about this. We're not little girls, we're businesswomen, executives. I love the $1 million seats versus the cheap seats. People will take cheap shots at you. Or they might not say it that way. They might say, when you did this, what were you thinking about? And maybe it was like, what? What kind of question? I was on full speed. Why? And you're not doing anything. Why are you asking me? But I don't say those things. And she doesn't say it that way. She's thinking it. But she, you guys take advice from people that God would approve of you taking advice from. Okay? So it is through God's eyes also. 31,000 last month. 31,000. And I forgot to do a recognition for 100 or more people in your unit, so we're going to do that later. Yeah. Okay. Wow. I just have to say growth and growth and growth. And sometimes when they ask for advice, they don't always want it, or they weren't ready for it this year. Because I've really come right to the point, don't I? Yeah, but she took it after she got mad at me, and she told me she was mad at me, and I'm like, because I delivered it so nicely. But she didn't agree with me. Was that a year ago?
That was, a year ago this month.
Yeah. And I don't know why we're talking the coaching appointment or something, I don't know what it was. But I'm all lesson 8, but that's in lesson 7, what I teach with my clients. I'm like, this is very clear to me that I missed this about this young lady. And I didn't know it, and she didn't know it. But when the light bulb went off, I'm like, oh my gosh. So do you remember what was said?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I remember where I was and what I was wearing. And I just said something, I don't remember what I said. I said something along the lines of, I just don't understand, and that's a cop-out. I just don't understand why, blah, 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 blah. And she said, the problem is that you have a self-image issue. Oh. My blood pressure went from 0 to 100, and I was pissed. I was mad. Because I have always been an extremely confident person. I was raised that way. However, what I did not understand at that time was that there's a big difference between self-confidence and self-image. And it took a long time, probably not till March or April, she let it go. I didn't tell her on the spot that I was mad at her. I'm sure she knew that. But I was just like, and when you have somebody in your life who is, I didn't know this at the time, but is on your Square Squad, I knew better. I was offended, but I knew she would never say that to me unless there was truth behind it. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't mad, she's wrong, I'm right, that kind of mad. I was just I think I was so taken back because I would have never pinned that tail on the donkey. Yeah. And it was just a thing of where I was very, I worked for recognition and the scoreboard is what I worked for, which is why I could never let go of my production. That's why I wanted to milk my production so hard, because I felt like if I hit X number of production, then that made me more valuable, right? I'll be very transparent with you. This is a ton of growth for me. We had a month last month where, I quit tracking production, totally quit tracking it, and I promised myself in July that I was going to quit doing that. And so, last month, so the only number I care about is agreements, which is unit size. Agreements and unit size. It's all we talk about. And so last month, my goal was 15 new agreements. And we did over 31,000 wholesale, and that was really exciting, but what was funny is at the end of the month, we only had 10 agreements. So even though, like old Tracy, and I think a lot of people in Mary Kay would go, oh my gosh, this month was so amazing, oh my gosh, you know, da da da. And I was like, crap, I missed my goal. Like, we missed it. Because that no longer matters to me. That production number doesn't matter to me anymore. It's that who's coming in, how are we growing, you know, but I finally got rooted in, I am who I am, and, you know, the scoreboard is not who I am. However, the fine line you have to figure out is that even though the scoreboard doesn't define who you are, that does not release you from the calling of producing those results. Because it's through those results that other people are blessed. So it's a very fine line of not being addicted to or attached to the scoreboard. For me, maybe not for you, but for me. Some people aren't driven by the scoreboard at all, but it was like, that was my end all be all for a long time. And that's exhausting.
And so how did you work on your self-image? Other than detaching from that, and did you read? Are you studying? What are you doing?
I do read a lot, and when I say read, I mean listen. There, you know, like on Audible. Do y'all use Audible? I do. This is what I'll do. Sorry. I will listen to a book on Audible, and if I love it, I'll go buy the real one, and then like highlight it or whatever, you know. And it's like you can kind of like thumb. You're like, it should probably be right here where she said this, you know. But honestly. Okay, so I read Girl Wash Your Face, and I've since read that book 4 times, and because it was very impactful for me. Raise your hand if you've read that book. Okay, y'all will know what I'm talking about. You know the part at the end of the book where she's talking about being at the marathon? But she wasn't running the marathon. She was going just to cheer for her friends. And she gets there and she's like walking to the, you know, she's gonna go to like mile 5 and cheer for them as they go by, and then she's gonna go to like miles. And she's like walking and she's like, why am I doing this? This is so dumb. If I was here, if I'm gonna be here, I should have been ready. That was me. That was me. I didn't want to cheer for you. I wanted to be in the game. You know what I'm saying? That was me. Just being very transparent. That was me. And so I'm reading this book and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is me, you know? And what I found through like some journaling was the reason that if that had been me, if I had been at the marathon cheering Judy on, I would have felt like she held more value because she ran the race and I was on the sidelines. So now she's more valuable than I am. Okay, here's the really twisted part. What if she was on the sideline and I was running the race? Now who's more valuable? Me. So, and I was just like, holy crap. I mean, I called Deb, I think it was like 10:30 at night. I'm like, get your phone, I have to call. I'm like blowing up Voxer. I'm like, answer your phone. In like 3 different messages. So I was like, look, 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 you know? And I'm like, I get it. I finally get it. I get, and she's like, I mean, it's like late at night. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you're right. I had a self-image issue. Yeah. And she's like, what? And I'm like, let me tell you this story about this marathon and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, that was me. I didn't want to cheer for anybody. That was not, because I felt like now you were more valuable than me or you outranked me or whatever. So I had to realize that because you ran the race today and I didn't run the race today doesn't mean that you're better than I am or you're more valuable than me. But that's what I was wrapped up in. That's what I was wrapped up in, yeah.
Self-image, she snapped. That's awesome. I learned more in my kitchen listening to that boxer go off, I'll tell you. And it's usually those like light bulb moments. I'm like, yes. That's what we talked about last fall. But leaders allow people time to grow. Leaders allow people time to grow, but you don't hover over them. You go bring in lots of new people while your other leaders are learning. Okay? All right, so that was fun, wasn't it? So the topic becomes, there's a topic and then there's a side story. How many of you can have your own side story? Like, I want to know who's getting something like this morning. You're like, oh, I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad I'm here, because tomorrow we're gonna tie a lot of this, I'm gonna take it into the science behind it, why I was able to identify. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. On the outside, it's not a self-image issue. On the inside, she's got a self-image issue. Okay. And leaders allow their people to be okay, upset with them. Because she knows I've poured enough good deposits into her over the years. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. It was okay for me to take out of her checkbook, make a withdrawal. And it really wasn't a withdrawal, it was an add-on, but she sort of felt it like it was a withdrawal, okay? But what you do is you pour into people, build trust, love people, love people, love people, and believe in them no matter what's going on. Maybe she didn't have the unit club she wanted last year, but she still gets to hang out with me. She's a human being, I'm a human being. You don't measure your people by the scoreboard, and the law of comparison is one of the deadliest laws there is out there. The law of comparison is the deadly law. You will take your self-image down so fast, okay? So important that you love yourself enough to give yourself permission to be who you be. Oh my gosh, gals, all right. Well, our next speaker is her